What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Prophecy Misfits Podcast. This is episode 292. 1918. Yes, it's gonna be an interesting one tonight. I kind of put it on my Telegram when I announced the podcast and the subjects and stuff that we're going over, which I do pretty much every time. But I just kind of put a personal note afterwards, and I just kind of said, if you're one of those people that is still holding out hope, holding on to some type of restoration for the United States, it's time to finally just let go. And we've got some stuff tonight that's just so revealing to what's been going on. We've been seeing just everything in the direction that it's going regarding the collapse of the United States right now. We've been talking about it a lot on this channel lately, because this is kind of the hot thing right now of where all the news and information is coming out, and the decline and the absolute collapse of the United States and the dictatorship takeover by Trump and his administration is just happening in front of our very eyes. This isn't political. This is just the situation that we're in right now. So if you're still holding out hope, you just need to let go. You just finally need to let go. We're going to be talking about some stuff regarding a new club created by Donald Trump Jr. called the Executive Branch. And it's a club that you have to pay to get into, $500,000 to get into. You have to be invited and approved to get in there. And it's an all-access pass for people to have a private opportunity to basically tell the government what you want them to do on that. So it's called the Executive Branch. We'll talk about that. We also got some stuff when it comes to state-run media. Yeah, this is the stuff that dictatorships do. They have state-run media. Everybody complains about the mainstream media, which is interesting because a lot of the mainstream media nowadays is actually telling us the truth, but because the trust there has been so shattered, nobody's paying attention. But so they're switching over to influencers, MAGA and right-wing influencers, and now they have private press meetings just for them. So we got state-run media going on. A new executive order was signed, probably the most dangerous one to date, which is saying something, but it's basically creating the Gestapo. I'm one of those people where I say, there's always the people where it's, Trump, promises made, promises kept. Well, he did keep this one. He promised that he was going to give federal immunity to police, and well, he's doing exactly that. So we'll be talking about that. National Institute of Health released a document out there saying if you are receiving grant funding from them, if you have any association with bad-mouthing or boycotting Israel in any type of way, they specifically use it, then your funding will be rescinded, which is, again, going along with the theme that we've been seeing. Then RFK Jr. wants to make an entire health database with all private medical information and live tracking of individuals, gathering information from anywhere from your doctor to the pharmacy to your Fitbit and wearable stuff on you. Yes. And then along with that, the new director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, which used to be held by Fauci for many, many years, is actually a friend of Fauci, and he's the one that discovered and restructured the 1918 Spanish flu genome strain. So, yeah, looking pretty good. It's looking pretty good. If I do say so myself. But so we got some interesting stuff to talk about tonight. But if this is your first time here, this is what we do on Tuesdays and Saturdays. We get together and we watch for the signs of the return of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. We don't know exactly when he's going to come. We don't know exactly the season of his return, but we're called to watch, which means why would we be called to watch if we're not going to have somewhat of an idea of the season of his return? So that's what we do, is we get together and we watch for these signs. No holds barred. We just tell it as it is. No point in trying to have an agenda or hide things for specific reasons. And that's what we do. So we tend to irritate a lot of people here, but we are the Misfits and we're proud to be Misfits for sure. So let's see how y'all are doing up in here. Let's see here. I saw this one and I like this one. Wow, Zach, caramba. I saw that. I like it. Yeah, pretty much. Caramba is definitely how it goes. So yeah, fun stuff. Good to see you, Doc. Thanks for being here. Let's see. We got Lori S as well. Good to see you. Sounds like a good one tonight. Yeah, it's going to be a lovely time, Lori. Glad to have you here. Thanks for being here. Mr. Bean friend is here. Mr. Bean, every time I just get the picture of Mr. Bean, his facial expressions, great time. But good to see you. Are you actually Mr. Bean? That'd be kind of cool. What's his name? Rowan Atkinson? Is that who it is? Yeah, I think so. Let's see. We got Misfit Gracie. Good to see you, Misfit. Thanks for being here. And hopefully you are well tonight. Thanks for being here, spending your time for sure. Lori is here. Good to see you, Lori. Is that the... I love the picture. Oh, I love dog pictures. Good to see you, Lori. Hopefully you're having a good one. Thank you for being here. Let's see. Chris Believer in Jesus is here. Better games in heaven. Anyway, yeah. Go. What's the song? It's a big house with lots and lots of room. It's a big house, lots and lots of food. Big yard where we can play football. It's a big house. It's my father's house. Big House by Audio Adrenaline, if you guys don't know. But yeah, there's going to be some good games for sure. Not of This World is here. Please be nice to my tools. They do their best. Along with the Peanut Gallery. Peanut is here. And Ebsy from across the pond. So my tools are here. Good to see you guys. Thanks for being here and taking time to try and corral the rambunctious hooligans in the chat. But good to see you guys. Thanks for being here. Rachel C is here saying hello to everybody. So it would be polite to say hello back to Rachel. So good to see you. Nikki D is here as well. Good to see you, Nikki. Thanks for being here. Hopefully you're doing all right tonight. Doodle Toot, the name every time. I swear I'm 5 years old. Doodle Toot is here. Hello, everyone. So much happening so quickly. Yeah, it's going nuts. It is absolutely insane with what's going on. Machine Gun Kelly is here. Good to see you, Machine Gun Kelly. Thanks for spending your time here. Let's see. We got Jay Miller. Jay Miller, good to see you, Jay. Hopefully you're doing all right. And thanks for spending your Tuesday evening here. It is Tuesday, right? I cannot keep track of the days. Jalapena's in the house. Good to see you, Jalapena. Thanks for being here. And hopefully you're having a good time or a good night tonight. Well, hopefully you're having a good time too. So good to see you. Wild West is here. Good to see you. And thanks for being here. Hopefully you're having a good week so far. Misfit Carol is here as well. Always good to see you, Carol. And thanks for spending your time here. Bonnie Turner is here as well. Good to see you, Bonnie. Y'all are doing, you guys are chatting it up in here. But good to see you, Bonnie. Thanks for spending your night here. Hopefully you're doing all right. Abby Normal is here. Love the name. That's just a great name. The brown shirts. Yeah, it ain't looking good. It ain't looking good. So yeah, we're going to be talking about that, but glad to see you, Abby, and hopefully you're doing all right. Trace Severs is here. Good to see you, Trace. And thanks for spending your night here. Hopefully you're having a good week so far. Let's see, we got 13 ID, one of those. I can see you, sorry, late from Antioch, California. I know that place. Live pretty close to there. If you're in a different Antioch, then I have no idea where that place is at, but good to see you. Jessica McCord is here as well. About 500,000 short to be invited to the club. Yeah, me too. Good to see. We don't want to be a part of that club anyways. One big club, and I don't want to be a part of it. That's for sure. Let's see. We got Lori as well. Good to see you, Lori. You got an upset face. That's not good. Turn that frown upside down. That's as cliche as it comes, but good to see you, Lori. Will G is here as well. Good to see you. What's the brown coats or brown shirts? Yeah. Yikes. Good to see you, Will. Thanks for being here. Bab is here as well. Good to see you, Bab. Katie is here. Thanks for being here, Katie. Rudy Judy. What's with y'all's names? Yeah. Good stuff. Doggo picture. Or is that a cat? That's a cat. Yeah, that's a cat, I think. Otherwise, I need glasses. I don't know. Art Darnell is here. Good to see Art. Thanks for being here. Near to Andrew as well. Domo arigato, Mr. Gestapo. Thanks for being here, man. Hopefully you're doing all right. Let's see. Over on the Rumble side, who do we got? We got Romaha's over there. Mindy G's over there as well. Jacques is over there. Crafty Mary. Good to see you, Crafty. Let's see. Jules 0731. Good to see you. And hopefully you guys are doing all right over there in the Rumble chat as well. So, but I'll pick you out. It's not that I like you. It's just we got a bunch of stuff to get to tonight. And so we're going to go ahead and get into some housekeeping.
Housekeeping?
No, thank you. Sleeping.
Housekeeping?
All right, so for housekeeping, usual spiel, if you guys can, like, share, subscribe, get this out to as many people as you can. It's not about views, not about butts and seats, but it is about getting the warning out to people and getting people to Jesus. That's why we do this whole shebang, this whole charade, whatever you want to call it. That's why we do this. And if we're not out there trying to spread the gospel, spread the word of the Lord, as well as warn of what's coming prophetically, then we're not doing our jobs. And so if you guys can do me a solid, like, share, subscribe, it certainly helps, does reach those people who are lost, have questions, and need the gospel of Jesus Christ. Also, if you guys can, follow me, Rumble and Telegram. Those are my backup channels. If I get booted off YouTube, we'll be back up live streaming over on Rumble. Of course, we're multi-streaming to YouTube, Rumble, and the website right now, but still, if I get booted off a platform, it's probably going to be YouTube. So make sure you guys go ahead and follow me on Rumble, and on Telegram, I post updates, announcements, and just things that I can't necessarily put in videos, and Sunday funnies, and all that type of stuff, just random things. So stay up to date. Go ahead and follow me on Telegram. If you don't have Telegram or you just don't want to follow me on there, I'm offended. No, I'm not really offended at all. Just go ahead and bookmark the official WretchedWatchmen.com website. That's the best place to stay up to date. Latest announcements, podcasts, video series, and all that type of jazz. Make sure you guys go ahead and bookmark the website. Best place to stay up to date on what is going on. And last but not least, if you guys would like to support this channel and what I got going on, I got donation links down below. CashApp, Venmo, and GiveSendGo. This channel's not monetized. Don't make anything from ads, views, anything like that. It runs solely off of your guys' generous donations. I won't monetize my stuff. I won't put anything behind a paywall. I don't sell anything. Everything needs to be free, and that's just how it needs to be when it comes to the gospel of Jesus. So you guys are the ones that allow that to happen, and thank you guys for your support and your blessings. And your encouragement and your prayers. I appreciate you guys truly. So thank you for that. And that's it for housekeeping. Slipped my mind what we were just doing. It's been a long day. It's been a long couple of weeks. But either way, thank you guys for that. And you guys ready to get into this? You guys ready to get into this? You know, top of the morning. Fitz just went Irish. All right. All right. Let's go ahead and get into the first thing that we got going on. So, all right. I kind of changed some stuff around my program, so hopefully it's all going to work properly. There we go. All right. So, first things first, we're going to kind of start out with something just absolutely stupid. And I mean stupid as in the way of it's not like stupid. It's truly revealing how much these people, this family and their company grift when it comes to this stuff. But yeah, Donald Trump Jr. co-founds new private members club called the Executive Branch with a $500,000 fee to join. So a new private membership club in Washington, D.C., co-founded by Donald Trump Jr. is charging $500,000 membership fee. And there's already a waiting list, which the waiting list got so long that they actually stopped the waiting list situation as well. The club, called the Executive Branch, held a launch party on Saturday night that included at least a half a dozen members of President Donald Trump's administration, as well as wealthy CEOs, tech founders, and policy experts. They're just living it up. It's so fascinating, and I know this gets pointed out all the time, but it just absolutely in general, when it comes to politicians, it's so fascinating how what used to be a volunteer position has now become one of the richest positions that anybody can take, where they can afford $500,000. They're just living it up off of your dime. They manipulate and they do everything that they can to make sure that their pockets are padded, and you don't get anything. None of us can afford to get into that club, but all of them can off of your dime. Imagine that. That's the wonderful reality of politics. Doesn't matter if it's left or right. It's just how it is. The Executive Club, Executive Branch will open sometime next month or so at a location in Georgetown neighborhood in Washington, D.C. Let's see what they got to say about this, shall we?
Welcome back. There's a new exclusive club that has popped up in Washington, D.C. Donald Trump Jr. and other Republican mega donors are at the helm. And Robert Frank has more on who is looking to join and just how much it'll cost you. Robert.
Good morning, David. Good to see you. Well, the ultra-wealthy who want access to the White House have a new club. It's called Executive Branch, And the new private members club will cost $500,000 just to join. And at that price, there is already a waiting list. The club is owned, as you mentioned, by Donald Trump Jr., the president's son, along with his business partners at 1789 Capital. That's Omid Malik and Chris Buzzkirk. The other owners include Alex and Zach Witkoff. Those are the sons of Steve Witkoff, the Middle East envoy and longtime friend of the president's. Some of the founding members include crypto investors David Sachs and the Winklevoss brothers. I'm told that the club will be located in Georgetown in a building that will open next month. Now, the launch party on Saturday night included a who's who from the Trump cabinet with Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Attorney General Pam Bondi, SEC Chair Paul Atkins, Dr. Oz, and a lot of others. The $500,000 membership fee would make it the most expensive private membership club in the country after Mar-a-Lago. Mar-a-Lago, of course, just increased its membership fee to $1 million, and even there is a long wait list. Now, to become a member of Executive Branch, you're going to need to be personally approved by the owners with a trusted referral. Sources telling me they want a, quote, safe space for people to have private conversations with members of the Trump administration.
Oh, you don't say.
You are terrible.
Yeah, that's nice. So basically, this is the who's who of their family and investors and CEOs and stuff like that allow them to have a private closed off area for them to all get together and scheme about what to do and live it up. Again, on your dime. It's truly amazing how that works. So if we jump over here, it's a staggering amount it costs to join official Trump fan club after, fan club after Donald Trump's son launches exclusive membership. Donald Trump's oldest son has teamed up with Trump mega donor Omid Malik to create a new club for supporters that the president has had a lengthy waiting list and a huge membership fee. Yes, it costs more than a fancy gym and sauna, whatever. The so-called Executive Branch Club has been created by Donald Trump Jr. and Malik with the help of a number of Trump investors, and it launched after the recent White House Correspondents' Dinner took place on April 26. Just the name alone should tell you what's going on. Again, we've just seen nothing but grift after grift. If you guys don't know what grift means, it means scamming, pulling fast ones. We saw the whole Trump coin stuff. Then we saw the Trump Jr. coin, and we see all these things, and they just continue to pull the stuff, the tariff stuff. All of the CEOs and people connected to the Trump family have made bank off the tariffs because they knew what was happening. We've actually received news reports quoting them saying that they knew ahead of time. They made bank off the tariffs. All the up and down roller coaster that we've been seeing. Every time it's happened, these people have been making money and money and money because they knew it was coming. Yes, that's insider trading. No, they don't care, and no, they're not going to get in trouble for it. It's the same thing like Pelosi's been doing, the same thing that Hillary's been doing, same thing all the Democrats have been doing. The people on the right are doing the same thing, and nothing ever happened to them. Nothing's ever going to happen to these guys either. This is what I mean. It's one big giant joke. People who still have their faith in politics are just choosing to be deceived, even though the stuff's right in front of their very eyes. The first ever exclusive gathering at the club was invitation only, with details shared by Political after it successfully made the list. But the location, reportedly the Occidental restaurant near the White House, was only revealed once attendees had submitted their RSVPs. Among those who attended the first meeting at the said to be the White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt, Deputy FBI Director Dan Bongino, the White House Deputy Chiefs of Staff Taylor Budowich, and James Blair, according to Politico, as well as two sources who remain anonymous. Executive Branch will be located in Georgetown, Washington, D.C., and hosts to be the highest-end private club that Washington has ever had. The club will cater to those who are hoping to build and nurture relationships with the Trump administration, meaning the doors aren't open to just anyone. No, it's got to be the people connected to the family who are in the club, who are involved with what's going on, who have the secrets of everything that we see taking place. To ensure that the club only attracts those who are serious about being a member, it comes with a hefty membership fee of $500,000. Again, Mar-a-Lago is $1 million, which is the highest. Again, it's fascinating how this family owns both. I just want to throw this at you. If this was Biden doing this, if this was Hillary doing this, if this was any of the Democrats doing this, it would be lighting the prophecy world on fire. But because it's the Trump administration, what do you hear? Crickets. Amazing how that works. A notice on the official website for the club also explains that membership is invitation only and the waiting list for new members is already closed. Wow. This just goes to show, and you can see here, Trump Jr., Malik executive branch is also owned by Malik's business partner, Chris Buskirk, Zach and Alex Witkoff, and the sons of Trump envoy, Steve Witkoff, as well as David Sachs, who David Sachs was all heavily connected to raising money and connecting Silicon Valley to Trump during this last go-around on the campaign. Doc says it needs to hear Law and Order. There's Law and Order for you. No, this just goes to show that this is one giant joke. This is one giant ruse. This is one thing where they don't care about you. They're installing the tariffs. The prices are going to go sky high. Everything is going to cost us. We got shipping crises, whatever you want to say, going on. We've got housing issues going on. We got loan problems. We got the rising costs of all this stuff, everything that's going on. And what are they doing? Setting up a club for all of the rich people. Again, we're at this point where, I'm not, again, I may be talking political when it comes to this, but my whole point with this isn't politics. We're way past that. This has to do with, I know there's still so many people that are still just gripping on to this world, gripping on to politics, gripping on to the Trump administration, gripping on to the restoration of the United States, gripping on to this idea that there's a reprieve, gripping on to these things when we need to let go of this world. When you let go of this, there's so much weight taken off your shoulders. There's no worry left because you realize that you are now letting go of the world and you are firmly in the hands of the Lord, trusting in Him, knowing that He's going to take care of you, knowing that He's going to provide for you. That doesn't mean things are going to be easy and a cakewalk. There's going to be trials and tribulations, but you understand that He is there to hold on to you and take care of you. But there's still so many Christians that I see that are saying, no, I trust in Jesus alone, but yet they are firmly holding on to Trump and all his people, thinking that there's some type of reprieve or restoration coming when it's not going to happen. Again, this is a spiritual situation. This is about how are we going to respond in our spiritual walk of what is going on. And that is my main point of this. I'm not trying to sound redundant. I'm not trying to be, beating a dead horse. I'm not trying to just pound a specific subject when it comes to this. I'm really just trying to make sure that we can wake up these Christians from this dreadful sleep that they're in. I'm getting, every time I don't hear the words, but every time I read comments where it says, we just have to wait and see. I'm sitting there going, you're going to be standing in the line getting ready to get onto the boxcar, and you're still going to be telling the person next to you saying, we just need to wait and see. You can deny it all you want, but that tells you that you're still gripping onto the world. Let go. Just let go. Trust in the Lord. We've got to make sure, and this isn't a political thing. This is something that we've got to actively make sure that we're keeping our focus where it needs to be. Keeping our focus where it needs to be. Next up on this, because this is great. Yeah. Florida influencer kicks off White House social media meeting by praising deportations. Uber drivers finally speak English again. Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt says these influencing meetings will allow President Donald Trump's White House to speak to all media outlets and personalities, not just the legacy media. So if you don't know what's going on with this, past 2 days, yesterday and today, there have been closed off press meetings with right-wing influencers, whether it's Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, whatever they are. These are the approved right-wing influencers that are the only ones to have access, get personal one-on-one one-on-one as much as you can. They're sitting in the pool while she's up on stage, but one-on-one interaction with Carolyn Levitt and getting fed all of that information so these influencers can go onto their platforms and spread the news that they're being told. We've seen people anywhere from Tim Pool to Libs of TikTok to DC Drano to all these right-wing influencers. And this has to do with the new media that I've been really talking about a lot for a while, where they destroyed the reputation and the trust of the mainstream media, which was a part of the plan. And then they knew that everybody was switching over to podcasts and social media and all those types of things. So what did they do is they started buying these people off. They started installing people in that realm, and they started building trust through these quote unquote alternative media groups. And we've seen it anywhere from Rumble. We've seen it to Sean Ryan, to Joe Rogan. We've seen it to smaller things again, Libs of TikTok and all these people. And they've built up a trust because they are telling the quote unquote truth of what's going on, when in fact, it's just, again, orchestrated and coordinated propaganda coming from them, whether it's limited hangout or anything like that they're doing. And this is something that's been in the works for a while, and it's something that's absolutely working now. What's fascinating, though, is when you start looking at some of the mainstream media, and when I say that, I don't mean like CNN and Fox and stuff like that. They're still just, the pinnacle of trash on either end of the spectrum. But when you look at some things, like one that I've noticed who's been nailing it, and they used to be absolute trash beforehand, but is nailing it, is Newsweek. Newsweek is just, I've been verifying and vetting a lot of the stories that they're putting out, and they're nailing it. A lot of these groups that people have said completely dismissed are actually starting to tell the truth of what's going on. And it began when they started comparing Trump to Hitler. And a lot of people said, that's so over the top, that's so extreme and so stupid, there's no possible way that it could be. Look at what's going on now. Fascinating. So what we have going on here is we have a bought and created state-run media going through the influencer meetings of what we have going on now. The Trump administration continues how the executive branch, not the club, but the actual executive branch, interacts with the media, and the White House Press Secretary Carolyn Levitt on Monday hosting the first ever influencer meeting. The meeting resembled a typical press briefing, except it was not held in the White House press briefing room. The room was less crowded than usual, and it featured several prominent pro-Trump creators and media members, including former press secretary Sean Spicer. The Trump White House will speak to all media outlets and personalities, not just the legacy media who traditionally covers the institution, except if you want to get like the whole charade of, remember the Epstein file binders, which was quote unquote phase one, that included less information than we already knew before, which were handed exclusively to right-wing influencer people. And then all of a sudden it went quiet and we haven't heard a thing about the Epstein stuff since. We haven't heard anything about the arresting of Democrats or arresting of all the people committing fraud that Doge has found. We haven't seen anything about the gold in Fort Knox. The Ukraine war is still going on. It's fascinating how that works. Again, if it was Joe Biden, we'd be all up in arms, right? Yeah. Millions of Americans now turn to podcasts and social media influencers for the news, and President Donald Trump, Levitt said, wants to embrace that change. Yeah, because he's funding half of it. It's well past the time the White House press operation reflected the media habits of the American people in 1925. That's cute. Spicer was seated in the front row next to Arian Wexler, a conservative influencer with about 400,000 across X and TikTok and Instagrams and the Snapchats and the LinkedIn's and all the things, you know. Anyways, Wexler, who dubs herself just a non-lib girl in a super lib world, was called on first by Levitt, talking about English-speaking Uber drivers and trans people in sports and all that type of stuff. Other topics that were discussed included the border wall, British subjects being arrested for posting memes, and tax cuts. Monday's meeting was held inside the White House South Court Auditorium, which Levitt said former President Joe Biden used as a fake Oval Office during his term. At one point, Rogan O'Handley, a right-leaning influencer who goes by DC Drano on X, where he has had more than 200 million followers, complimented Levitt, saying she has been crushing it in a role. Oh, isn't that cute? They just love each other. And so on and so forth. My main point with this, again, is I just want to let you guys know we got to be very careful about where we're getting news, because a lot of the news now, untrustworthy news, has been shifted over into alternative news and or influencers. It's moved that direction. Again, Rumble and all the people that they're paying for their stuff, places like Gateway Pundit and Zero Hedge and Epoch Times and stuff like that, they're all funded and are producing propaganda as well, along with smaller influencers and whatnot, as well as podcasters and everything. It's a dangerous situation when it comes to trying to find proper information. Again, you got to be willing to vet and verify. You got to be willing to not plant your flag on something until you can actually verify that it's true. And it makes it difficult. Makes it a lot difficult. Again, of course, this is the part of this deception of what's going on, and we got to make sure that we're trying to navigate the minefield. I'm telling you, it's difficult. Even in my area, it's difficult trying to verify some of this stuff. Like, you find some of this stuff and it sounds good, and you're like, okay, that sounds like could it be true? And then you go and you search and you search and you search, and you're really just finding copied and pasted information that is all coming from the same single source. And you're sitting there, it's like, I can't confirm this. There's no way I can confirm this. And you just can't roll with it unless you know for sure. And so it's definitely difficult to do. Abby Normal, I don't like being influenced. Yeah, I don't either. Like, I get stuff sent to me a lot, and I get asked about certain things a lot, and I get sent podcasts from people, and like, I don't know, like Leo Holman's one, and there's some other ones that, you know, they may do good research, but they always like to put their opinion in there as well. And I'm not saying their opinion's wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that, but I don't want somebody else's opinion to skew or lean me in my direction of what I'm trying to find. And so it's very difficult. It's like, I'm just trying to find just the facts and just the information and let my own research lead me in the direction of wherever it's going. I don't want my influence. I don't want somebody else's influence on that as well. So it's like, usually when I get people who ask me, like, have you read so-and-so, or have you seen so-and-so? And it's like, can you talk? I get this a lot. I get sent a podcast about somebody talking about a subject, and then they say, can you do a podcast on this? It's like, well, I'm not going to listen to that podcast because I don't want to go off of what's going on with that. And I'm not sure what else I can add or go off of that you haven't already heard before. You're just going to hear the same information from a different face. It's like, I don't think that helps the case either. So it's difficult when it comes to navigating information and research and all that type of stuff. I'm probably rambling right now. Probably people don't necessarily care what I'm saying on that front of things, but that's kind of my mindset when it comes to this information and everything like that. So just want to put that forward on it. Okay, did I lose anybody? I feel like I was like an old grandpa rambling on about flashback stories. So, okay. Let's go ahead and move on to this one. This one is big. This is a pretty big one. This is an executive order that was just signed on the 28th, yesterday. And this might be the most dangerous executive order so far. And we've had how many hundreds of executive orders signed? That's a problem. I don't care who you are. That's a problem. Yeah. Get off my lawn. I'm that guy. I am that guy. So this executive order, just to preface this, this is basically installing the fist, the hammer for what's coming next in this fascist takeover. And I don't use the word fascist takeover lightly or some type of, flashy, attention-grabbing, sensationalist type of thing. We are witnessing a fascist takeover and the installment of a dictatorship. And this executive order is basically unleashing the Gestapo onto the streets of the United States. So, April 28th, 2025, President Trump signed in strengthening, and just listen to the name of this thing, strengthening and unleashing America's law enforcement to pursue criminals and protect innocent citizens. Unleashing America's law enforcement to pursue criminals. You're going to notice that this is in the terms of national security and immigration stuff. They use that as the excuse. But what they mean by innocent citizens are basically those who will go along with exactly what they're told to do. So we're going to break this down. Yeah, Carolyn Johnson, unleash the dogs. Yeah, let loose the dogs of war. We're going to go through this and section by section. Sometimes I like to break down the whole thing, and this is a case of let's break this whole thing down and really show what's going on. So, Section 1, Purpose and Policy. Safe communities rely on the backbone and heroism of a tough and well-equipped police force. My administration is steadfastly committed to empowering state and local law enforcement to firmly police dangerous criminal behavior and protect innocent citizens. When local leaders demonize law enforcement and impose legal and political handcuffs that make aggressively enforcing the law impossible, crime thrives and innocent citizens and small business owners suffer. My administration will therefore establish best practices at the state and local levels for cities to unleash high-impact local police forces, protect and defend law enforcement officers wrongly accused and abused by the state and local officials, and surge resources to officers in need. My administration will work to ensure that the law enforcement officers across America focus on ending crime, not pursuing harmful, illegal, race, and sex-based equity policies. Again, they're using that DEI policy in order to push this stuff forward, just like the immigration stuff. They love to do that. You create a problem, you get the reaction, and here comes the solution. We had the problem of DEI, we had the problem of immigration, and so the pendulum swings to the other side in extreme force, which is what we got going on now. The result will be a law-abiding society in which tenacious law enforcement officers protect the innocent. Violation of law are not tolerated, and American communities are safely enjoyed by all their citizens again. So, with this, just a couple questions, and I'm sure we can all agree on this. One, we have a ridiculous crime problem, a lawlessness problem across all of the United States. That's true. Absolutely true. Big cities, rural areas when it comes to drugs and stuff like that. I lived in Northwest Arkansas for a period of time that was along the fentanyl highway. So I got to see all that disaster going on and everything like that. But we've had massive crime problem. We have. Can't deny that. If you deny that, then you're like Encino Man getting unfrozen from cryogenic freeze, or you're just lying to yourself. We got Matt, or you're the Amish, either one. But still, we've had massive crime problem, lawlessness problem, everything. It's been running rampant. Absolutely on board with that. But one of the ones that doesn't necessarily want to get talked about because, oh, no, we can't say that, is we've had a police brutality problem as well, where police can just do whatever they want, unleash just ridiculous harm against people. And whenever they get sued, it's the taxpayer that pays for it. The city doesn't pay for it. The police officer doesn't pay for it. And they either get put on administrative leave with pay, or they get transferred to a different station and district, and they can continue to do what they're going to do. We've got a problem on both levels. It's lawlessness on both ends. Lawlessness on crime, lawlessness when it comes to quote unquote law enforcement as well. I know there's some people who probably have family and stuff that are police officers. I'm not trying to attack things like that. But this is a fact. We've got gang on gang violence that's been going on. Lawlessness goes both ways. And so what we got going on now is we're going to use the lawlessness and the crime issue to swing it in the other direction of extreme force when it comes to the cops. And this is going to could be a serious problem coming up. So let's go ahead and kind of go through some of this. Section 3, and I have made notes to make sure that I point out everything that I want to point out when it comes to this. Section 3, empowering state and local law enforcement. The Attorney General and other appropriate heads of the executive departments and agencies shall take all appropriate action to maximize the use of federal resources. 2, point I, provide new best practices to state and local law enforcement to aggressively police communities against all crimes. So basically, we're going to have an increased police presence and increased aggression for crimes. Depending on what those crimes are, we don't know because it's a general statement, but as we go forward, you're going to realize a crime is anything that they say it is. That's extremely dangerous. So more presence and more aggressive of crimes is whatever they say it is. Point 2, expand access and improve the quality of training available to state and local law enforcement. 2 is basically they're going to increase the indoctrination of this new police system, new law enforcement system that they've got going on, as well as it's going to be beneficial hush money. Basically, we're going to increase your benefits and your pay to just go along with what we know is going to be a more extreme version of law enforcement that we have. Point 3, increased pay and benefits for law enforcement officers, which, again, we just kind of went over that a little bit on that. 4, strengthen and expand legal protection for law enforcement officers. Strengthen and expand legal protection for law enforcement officers. As it is, we've already got again, I went over it. Cops can pretty much get away with whatever they want now without suffering much repercussion. You got to do something very extreme in order to get some type of punishment for what's going on. I've seen cops outright just beat somebody half to death with video evidence of it for no probable reason for it, and they get off completely scot-free. I've seen it countless times. I'm connected to a lot of lawyers who do criminal justice, and I watch a lot of their videos on these things, and I see it all over the place. It's not good. If you're not looking for it, you don't know what's going on with that, but it's not good. This is basically federal immunity. And this is a promise that Trump absolutely did keep when it came to his campaign promises. I played this video before, and I said, this is a big thing that I'm worried about, and this will turn into the Gestapo, and he's doing exactly this. So I don't know if you guys remember this, but I thought I'd just play the clip again.
That we're going to give immunity to police so they can do their job. I'm giving federal immunity to police officers so they can do their job.
Going to give federal immunity to police officers. It's short. I'll play it again.
That we're going to give immunity to police so they can do their job. I'm giving federal immunity to police officers so they can do their job.
That's extremely dangerous. That's what the Gestapo had in Nazi Germany. Just do whatever you want. You have federal immunity. You have legal protection. You will not be held responsible for anything as long as you're enforcing the new laws that we're installing. That's what we have going on. Okay. Let's see. 5. Let's see. Seek enhanced sentences for crimes against law enforcement officers. So a more extreme punishment and repercussions for anybody, even if the citizen is in the right. Again, I see countless videos of the citizen correctly defending themselves from something, and because the officers didn't like it, they're arrested and hauled off, and they're going to increase punishment for that as well when it comes to that. Let's see here. They're going to promote investment in security capacity of prisons. Who knows what that's going to be? And then increase the investment in collection, distribution, and uniformity of crime data across jurisdictions. Centralized database of criminals and suspicious characters. That's basically what that's going on with that situation. Within 60 days of the date of this order, the Attorney General shall review all ongoing federal consent decrees, out-of-court agreements, and post-judgment orders to which a state or local law enforcement agency is a party, and modify, rescind, or move to conclude such measures that unduly impede the performance of law enforcement functions. Well, what does that mean? It means all legal matters will be settled according to the Attorney General and President's judgment. Anything they say now goes without the true checks and balances system. I'll show you another executive order that was signed a month earlier that basically verifies and validates exactly what I'm telling you when it comes to this. They're going to go in and all outstanding or past court order agreements and legal matters will now be settled according to their own personal judgment. No checks and balances, no third party, doesn't matter what's going on. As we know, we've seen the huge propaganda push against the corrupt judges. Yes, there are corrupt judges. I'm not saying that there aren't. That's a whole nother problem that we got going on there. But basically, they're using that as an excuse to get rid of all judgment calls from them and just basically go with their own personal opinion regarding this. This is dangerous. This is how this is written. This is how this is going to be used. Section 4. Okay, here we go. Using national security assets for law and order. Within 90 days of the date of this order, the Attorney General and Secretary of Defense, in consultation with the Secretary of Homeland Security and the heads of agencies as appropriate, shall increase the provision of excess military and national security assets in local jurisdictions to state and local law enforcement. Military equipment and personnel on the state and local law enforcement level. This is police state. This is a standing military in the streets of the United States. Within 90 days, subsection B here, section 4, within 90 days of the date of this order, the Secretary of Defense, in coordination with the Attorney General, shall determine how military and national security assets, training, non-lethal capabilities, and personnel can most effectively be utilized to prevent crime. This is not react to crime. This is prevent crime prevention, predictive crime. That means that law enforcement, state and local law enforcement, are going to get military training as well as equipment and have it deployed upon the streets. You guys remember this little ditty from a few months ago? The DoD Directive 5240.01, DoD intelligence and intelligence-related activities and defense intelligence component assistance to law enforcement and agencies and civil authorities. This was September 27th of 2024. You guys remember this one from Joe Biden and his administration? If not, if we jump down to Section 3, Defense Intelligent Component Assistant to Law Enforcement Agencies and Other Civil Authorities. We keep going. We get to 3.3, Levels of Authority. Secretary of Defense Approval, which he was listed in that executive order that we just read regarding the use of military assets and training for law enforcement. Subsection C, assistance in responding with assets with potential for lethality, or any situation in which it is reasonably foreseeable that providing the requested assistance may involve the use of force that is likely to result in lethal force, including death and serious bodily injury. It also includes all support to civilian law enforcement officials in situations where a confrontation between civilian law enforcement and civilian individuals or groups is reasonably anticipated, not happening, anticipated. They're predicting Such use of force must be in accordance with DoD Directive 5210.56, potentially as a further restricted based on the specifics of the requested support. This DoD directive grants the ability for killing civilians in the streets of the United States. And this executive order is creating a standing military upon the streets of the United States. And that directive will allow them to use lethal force against U.S. citizens. One comes from Joe Biden, the other comes from Trump. Again, I don't care who is sitting in the office right now. It currently is Trump. That's why that's our focus. But this has been a tag team event to get this in play. Let's keep going. Section 5. Oh, there's more. Holding state and local officials accountable. The Attorney General shall pursue all necessary legal remedies and enforcement measures to enforce the rights of Americans impacted by crime and shall prioritize prosecution of any applicable violations of federal criminal law with respect to state and local jurisdictions whose officials A, willfully and unlawfully direct the obstruction of criminal law, including by directly and unlawfully prohibiting law enforcement officers from carrying out duties necessary for public safety and law enforcement, or subsection B, unlawfully engage in discrimination or civil rights violations under the guise of diversity, equity, and inclusion, the DEI initiatives that restrict law enforcement activity to endangered citizens. What does this mean? This means that the Attorney General will arrest and prosecute any state or local official that does not cooperate with the brand new fascist state laws that they are imposing. Again, I've got something at the very end which will show what's going on with this. Any official that does not go along with the narrative and the new direction can be arrested and prosecuted because it is now considered obstruction of criminal law. Section 6. Oh, it just keeps getting better. Section 6, use of Homeland Security task forces. The Attorney General and the Secretary of Homeland Security shall utilize the Homeland Security task forces formed in accordance with Executive Order 14159 of January 20th, 2025, protecting the American people against invasion, which has to do with the immigration, to coordinate and advance the objectives of this order. They're using immigration and national security as an excuse to deploy Homeland Security as a federal police force. Exactly what people were afraid of the Homeland Security being used for when it was first established. Now it's already been similar to that, but now they're going to apparently be giving them more power to do what they're going to do. This is creating the hammer for this coming dictatorship. Now, what rounds this all out is, okay, that's great that that's going on, but we still have the, law and order and the Constitution and all that type of stuff, not according to an executive order that was signed a little bit earlier. We jump back to February 18th, 2025. I didn't report on this one, even though I saw some issues with it. I was just waiting to see what was going to happen. This is the ensuring accountability for all agencies. This is where we start getting into the dictatorship of what's going on. So Section 1 says, the Constitution vests all executive power in the president and charges him with faithfully executing the laws. Since it would be impossible for the president to single-handedly perform all the executive businesses of the federal government, the Constitution also provides for subordinate officers to assist the president in his executive duties. In the exercise of their often considerable authority, these executive branch officials remain subject to the president's ongoing supervision and control. Remember, we have been seeing that if the executives that they're putting in there are not playing ball, they're getting thrown out. The president, in turn, is regularly elected by and accountable to the American people. This is one of the structural safeguards, along with the separation of powers between the executive and legislative branches, which he's not even using them anymore. Regular elections for the Congress, which he's not using them anymore. And an independent judiciaries who judges are appointed by the president and with the advice and consent of the Senate, which, again, he's not using them anymore, and anybody who stands in his way, they're throwing them out. By which the framers created a government accountable to the American people. We jump down to Section 7. This is where we get what we're looking for. Rules of conduct guiding federal employees' interpretation of the law. You don't necessarily need to change the laws themselves. You just need to have an interpretation of it. The president and the attorney general, subject to the president's supervision, so basically the president, subject to the president's supervision and control, shall provide authoritative interpretations of the law for the executive branch. The president has full power to interpret the law however he sees fit. The president and the attorney general's opinions on questions of the law are controlling on all employees and their conduct, all the way down to law enforcement, of their official duties. No employee of the executive branch acting in their official capacity may advance an interpretation of the law as the position of the United States that contravenes the president or the attorney general's opinion on the matter. So if anybody says, no, that this is what the law actually means and it goes against what they want, nope. It's not how it works. Including but not limited to the issuance of regulations, guidance, and positions advanced in litigation, unless authorized to do so by the president or in writing by the attorney general. The president has full interpretation of the law. Any defiance against it shall be removed. There's no checks and balances anymore. And this grants Trump and his interpretation of the law to defy all courts and court orders, as well as if any federal employees, which again, he's granting federal immunity to the cops, which means they would fall underneath this as well. Anybody who does not follow his interpretation of the law and his rulings on things can be removed. This is a dictatorship. And this is a federal law enforcement and standing military on the streets of the United States. See, the thing is, a lot of people will just take a look at like the fact sheets on these things, which if you look at the fact sheets, does not reveal any of this, of what's going on. Now, we just have to wait and see what follows this. Because this one was just signed yesterday. And I don't know if you guys saw it, but on my Telegram, I posted a screenshot, which The Atlantic is a terrible media company, but Trump was interviewed. And he said, I control not only the country, but I control the world. Bold words coming at a time when he's installing dictatorship executive orders and bringing down the entire country in his wake. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of people who are supporters of Trump and stuff saying, "Oh, you're making all that stuff up. You're stretching things where they're not going to be and all that stuff." That's just reading the document and looking at other documents that work in conjunction with it. It's really not that difficult. It's there. Why would he be writing these things and signing these? Well, he's not writing them, but why would this stuff be being signed in the verbiage and the language that's being used in these manners if that's not what it's going to be used for? Interesting. All right. Let's move on to the next thing, shall we? Which has to do a lot with this censorship of free speech and whatnot that's been going on. So if we take a look at this is a notice from the National Institute of Health. Issued by the National Institutes of Health. So this is RFK's, and I can never remember the dude's last name, of Jay Bacchiar, Yari, whatever. But this is them that put it out. And I find it fascinating, the specific language used in this, which again, I've been upfront about it. This administration is Israel first, not Trump first. And again, there's going to be some people that take, well, I'm not anti-Israel. I am a supporter of God's people and God's land. I am not for Israel's government, the globalists that they are. I'm a Christian Zionist, not a political Zionist. We got to learn to separate those things. But we've seen a lot of stuff when it comes to just going after anybody who says anything against Israel, opposes Israel for anything. There's a chance that they can come and haul me off because I've said some things because I disagree with Israel on some stuff like that. It's amazing how that works. But they use specific language. It says, effective with this issuance of this notice, the following terms and conditions apply. So people must comply, the recipients must comply with all applicable anti-discrimination laws. It says, as used in this clause, DEI means diversity, equity, and inclusion. DEIA means diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. Discriminatory equity ideology. But this is where it shows what's going on. Discriminatory prohibited boycott means refusing to deal, cutting commercial relations, or otherwise limiting commercial relations specifically with Israeli companies or with companies doing business in or with Israel, or authorized by, licensed by, or organized under the laws of Israel to do business. So when it's talking about discriminatory prohibited boycotts, it specifically means Israel. So if you want to do a discriminative boycott with some other country or nationality, you won't lose your funding. But if you're going to do it against Israel, they will pull your funding. We've seen it when it comes to them pulling student visas and whatnot from anybody, even if it's just one social media post that says, I don't agree with what Israel's doing with the war. We've seen students get their visas revoked and pushed out of the country because of something as simple as that. That's not free speech. That's a complete overstep. And I take it to the old cliche of if you give an inch, they take a mile. This is going to start moving forward and getting wider. The net is going to get wider. It's going to expand. When does it become, if you say anything negative about Trump's administration, we're going to haul you off and stick you in the gulag? That's what I mean. That's why we have to pay attention to some stuff like this. Because it's one of those things where a lot of pastors and prophecy people who are supporters of Israel will look at this and go, good stuff. We got anti-Semitism going on. We do. We absolutely have anti-Semitism going on. But you should not be forced to have to work with a company. It doesn't matter if it's Israeli or not. You shouldn't have to be forced to work with one if you don't want to. And that shouldn't be a requirement for having your federal funding taken or whatnot. So if a company happens to be on the verge of solving some medical miracle and they decide that they're not going to work with an Israeli-based company or something like that, they'll remove all funding from that thing and that medical miracle is gone. So just want you to think in that direction. Don't get caught up in the fact that it's Israel, which again, we are supporters of God's land and God's people, but we understand that Israel's government is corrupt. Don't let that be the thing that clouds your critical thinking of what all this could actually unfold into. Now, sticking with RFK and the National Institute of Health. We take a look at this. It says RFK Jr.'s autism study to amass a medical records of many Americans. This sounds vaguely familiar. I think I read about this in 1930s Germany as well. Eugenics, Jewish background, Aryan. Because this is exactly what they did back then too. Take a look. The National Institute of Health is amassing private medical records from a number of federal and commercial databases to give to Health and Human Services Secretary RFK Jr., his new effort to study autism. The National Institute of Health's top official said Monday. The new data will allow external researchers picked for Kennedy's autism studies to study comprehensive patient data with broad coverage of the U.S. population for the first time, says Jay Bakshikara. JB, we'll just call him JB. No, I don't want to say that either because that might get confused with Pastor JB. We'll just call him Bat. I don't know. The idea of the platform is that the existing data resources are often fragmented and difficult to obtain. The NIH itself will often pay multiple times for the same data resource. Even data resources that are within federal governments are difficult to obtain, he said in the presentation to the agency's advisors. Medication records from pharmacy chains, lab testing, and genome data from patients treated by the Department of Veteran Affairs and Indian Health Services, claims from private insurers, and data from smartwatches and fitness trackers will all be linked together. So pharmacies, lab tests, doctors, your genome data, patients treated by the VA or Indian Health Services, private insurance companies, data from wearables will all be linked together and storing a single medical record in a giant database for them to hold about you. Now they're saying it in the name of autism. But this has to do with keeping track of everybody's health data. If we move over to here, the NIH says it will build a health data platform linking health records, genomic profiles, and smartwatch data for medical research. The National Institute of Health is quietly assembling a vast digital mosaic of Americans' private medical histories, pulling sensitive data from both government-run health systems and commercial sources to support autism research tied to Health and Human Services in RFK Jr.'s latest project. A new scheme involves a sweeping plan to integrate diverse streams of health data into a single platform, raising significant concerns about privacy, oversight, and long-term use. You don't say. According to NIH Director Dr. J, and see, now Dr. J sounds like the old basketball player. Again, this dude's name is just giving me problems. The data aggregation includes pharmacy transactions, insurance claims, clinical test results, and even personal metrics collected from wearable tech such as fitness trackers and smartwatches. Oh my goodness. This is not the autism registry that has been reported to be developed, something that the Department of Health and Human Services has denied. They announced it, then denied it. Keep in mind on that. Instead of a traditional registry, what the government calls a real-world data platform will be established. Platform will link data to support research into the cases of autism. So let's just get everybody's medical details and live track everybody's medical details, all in the name of autism. Health information from the VA and Indian Health Services will also be funneled in, creating a massive centralized repository with a wide lens in the United States population. As Dr. JB, I see that doesn't work either. Man, this dude's name told agency advisors on Monday the objective is to eliminate the fragmentation that currently limits access to existing health data sets. He said that the new system would cut down on redundancies and make it easier for researchers to construct their analysis. So if we take a look at this, the goal, broad coverage of U.S. population, computer resources, federal partnerships, AI implementation. This includes gathering data about you from your pharmacy, from your health organization, from your clinic, from clinical data, from your claims and billing, your medical billing, from environmental situations and facilities, as well as all of the stuff that you wear and use on your phone or Fitbits or whatever it is. Every bit of your medical information is going to be gathered and live tracked and put into a central data hub, allowing them full access to every bit of your medical history. This will grant them access to real-time health monitoring, national disease registries, drug development, longitudinal data sets, regulatory approvals, and research competitions, as well as just having full information about you and your tracking. This will be a part of your social profile. They've got all your data. It's scattered right now. They're going to put it all in one place, along with all of your other stuff. Remember, this is what we've been talking about, that cloud, AI cloud communication that we just did on Saturday, basically allowing AI through Palantir and Google Cloud to have full access to all data and go back down to federal systems. It allows AI to go up and down. This is now going to be put into that as well. This is now going to be put into that. To expand the reach even further, the NIH is now in discussions with the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services to loosen restrictions on federal health data sharing. If finalized, this would open the door to some of the most detailed and longitudinal health records in the country. Y'all still think that RFK is on our side? But he got rid of the chemical food dyes. And he's making it so fast food French fries will be cooked in beef tallow. Cool. All this information, ranging from genomic profiles to step counts, will be linked with the NIH's new research environment, where outside researchers selected for the autism studies will be allowed to analyze it. And so on and so forth. I think we get premise and the idea on this. It's all about keeping tabs of people, all about keeping live tracking of people, all about having every surveillance module down to your cellular level running, all on a centralized database with access for AI to go to and from and gather whatever data that it needs to in that moment. But what's fascinating, and this is the kicker. This is the kicker. All in the name of autism, right? Well, here's a report from AP. This is what, April 15th. And it says autism rate in the United States rise again to 1 in 31 kids, CDC says. If we jump down here, we get a quick little point that I want to point out. An estimated 1 in 31 U.S. children have autism, the U.S. CDC reported Tuesday, making another jump in a long string of increases. The CDC's data was from 14 states and Puerto Rico in 2022. The previous estimate from 2020 was 1 in 36. So in 2020, 1 in 36 kids had autism. And in 2022, 2 years later, it jumped to 1 in 31. So it went up 5 points. What happened in 2020? What was thrown about for everybody to take in 2020? How many mothers, expected mothers, took that before giving birth to kids? I can't tell you because of the platform I'm on. But I'm thinking you can connect the dots on that one. Why am I bringing this up? Well, because we know that RFK Jr. doesn't want to block those anymore because he works for the self-proclaimed father of those things. So why would he remove that? Especially since Trump and Musk and RFK and countless others in the administration all have investments in companies that make those things. Half of Trump's administration are investors and or involved in companies that do those things. I think I know where it's coming from. But I could, be wrong. Don't think I am. I could be wrong. We can't talk much, again, about this subject in particular because of where we're at. They're still pretty sensitive about it. They get their panties in a bunch when discussed. But I'm sure you guys can fill in the blanks and connect the dots and so on and so forth regarding that. All right. On to the last one, right? We did that. Yep, on to the last one. Let's take a trip back to 1918, shall we, on this. Coming 24th of April this year, researcher of the 1918 flu virus, the Spanish flu virus, takes over the NIAID, the NIAID. Jeffrey Taubenberger, yes, he is German, by the way, becomes acting director of NIH's second largest institute. Take a look. Jeffrey Taubenberger, who gained fame for unearthing samples of the 1918 Spanish flu virus and ultimately sequencing its entire genome, has been named acting director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. Yes, this guy thought it was a good idea to find a strain of the Spanish virus, the Spanish flu virus. And if that wasn't good enough, he thought it was a good idea to rebuild it for fun. And he is now the head of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. Taubenberger, who has been an intramural researcher at NIAID for nearly 19 years, replaces HIV/AIDS researcher Janine Marazzo, whom Donald Trump administration removed from the job on the 31st of March. Marazzo, who remains on leave from NIAID, was one of 6 heads of institutes and centers at the National Institute of Health, recently offered reassignments to the Indian Health Service for no identified reason by NHI parent agency, the Department of Health and Human Services. Taubenberger will be running an institute that had a $6.6 billion budget in 2024, making it the second largest NIH branch before Marazzo, I don't know how to pronounce that, took the helm in NIAID in 2023. It had been headed for 38 years by infectious disease scientist Anthony Fauci. Hang on to that name. Just take that name and put it in a little box, put it in a bow, put that in your pocket, save it for later. We'll pull it out. In recent years, Fauci drew the ire of many Republicans and others who disliked this public health advice during the coup, or even blamed NIAID for funding a Chinese lab that alleged triggered it. Taubenberger takes over as the White House seeks to reorganize the NIH and drastically cut its budget. Although he hasn't managed anything the size of NIAID, his scientific credentials are long, colleagues said. He led a team that sequenced the virus that caused the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic, extracting samples from autopsies of soldiers and an Inuit woman buried in the Alaskan permafrost because, for fun, he was made many critical contributions to the field of influenza, both in pathogenesis, animal models, human data, and those things. Says virologist Adolfo Garcia Sastre of the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai, who worked with Taubenberger before he went to the NIH in 2006. Flu researcher Richard Webby at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital said Taubenberger has a lot of experience, I would hope, for an NIA director. Taubenberger will start the job tomorrow, according to the email to staff, so he's already plugged in now. NIH's deputy director, Mamoli, is a flu researcher himself and collaborated with Taubenberger for many years. They have published more than 30 papers together. So Taubenberger's taken over. This is the clown that decided, let's find the Spanish flu virus and let's rebuild it, and we're going to do such and such. Let's keep moving with this train, shall we? Train kept rolling. The deadliest flu, the complete story and discovery and reconstruction of the 1918 pandemic virus. If you guys don't know, the 100-year anniversary of the 1918 pandemic and the 10-year anniversary of the 2009 H1N1 pandemic are milestones that provide an opportunity to reflect on the groundbreaking work that led to the discovery, sequencing, and reconstruction of the 1918 pandemic flu virus. Collaborative effort advanced understanding of the deadliest flu pandemic in modern history and has helped the global public health community prepare for the contemporary pandemics such as 2009 H1N1 or possibly something else. We'll take a look. The 1918 H1N1 flu pandemic, sometimes referred to as the Spanish flu, killed an estimated 50 million people worldwide. This thing dramatically changed the landscape of the world when this thing happened, and it's extremely deadly. Let's jump down. There's a few points I want to point out on this. You can see a picture here over on the right. It's a picture of Dr. Jeffrey Taubenberger and Dr. Ann Reed reviewing a genetic sequence from the 1918 virus. They are credited with sequencing, rebuilding the genome of the 1918 virus. They're the ones that said, let's take this deadly virus that is dormant, rebuild it, and make it active again. That's what they did. It says, where's it at? Just right here. In the article, Taubenberger and his team described their initial work to sequence part of the genome of the 1918 virus. The genome is the complete list of the genetic instructions that make up the organism, similar to the blueprint for the construction. Many people are familiar with the concept of DNA, which is dual-stranded and determines the fundamental genetic characteristics of nearly all living things. However, the genome of an influenza virus consists of a single strand of RNA instead. Taubenberger's team successfully extracted the RNA of the 1918 virus from lung tissue obtained from a 21-year-old male U.S. service member stationed in Fort Jackson, South Carolina. The serviceman had been admitted to the camp's hospital on September 20th, 1918, with a diagnosis of influenza infection and pneumonia. He died 6 days later because of that. From this tissue, Taubenberger's group was able to sequence 9 fragments of the viral RNA from 4 of the virus's 8 gene segments. This work did not represent a complete sequence of the entire 1918 virus genome, but it provided a clearer picture for the pandemic virus than ever before. Based on 1918 virus's sequence data Taubenberger assembled in 1997, he and his fellow researchers initially claimed that the 1918 virus was a novel influenza A virus that belonged to a subgroup of viruses that came from humans and pigs, as opposed to birds. However, still much to learn. And it goes on. They worked on it. They finally, with some help from other guys, they finally put it together and constructed the thing, making it active. So if we jump down here, there's one last part I want to point out on this. For the reconstruction of the 1918 virus, additional rules were created to govern the experiments to be conducted. For example, to prevent mix-up and cross-contamination, work on the 1918 virus could not take place alongside other influenza viruses at that moment. But they ended up doing such when they started working on poultry. This is where we just kind of got to think critically for a moment. Where's that? Down here. The impact of the 1918 virus on lung tissue was also studied using a human lung cell. The amount of the flu virus was measured in the cells of the human lung. Another set of experiments was conducted to better understand the possible avian origins of the 1918 virus. The earlier sequencing efforts led by Dr. Taubenberger and Reed had suggested that the 1918 virus gene segments were more closely related to avian influenza A viruses than the H1N1 viruses found in other mammals. Researchers were interested to know whether the 1918 virus would be lethal to fertilized chicken eggs containing embryos, and so they went on and did experiments regarding those eggs. You can see it right here, CBD laboratory on that. So here's a question with this famed bird flu going on. And we got this dude who reconstructed this thing and basically said, oh, it's all about poultry and birds and can jump to humans and so on and so forth and is the deadliest thing. Could there be something in the future? Well, let's just keep going. Just a couple more things to show you. 1918 influenza, the mother of all pandemics. This was a research study done in 2006 by Jeffrey K. Taubenberger and David M. Morins. Hang on to that name. Taubenberger, Morins. If we jump over to this one, the H7N9 avian influenza A virus and perpetual challenge of potential human pandemicy. David M. Morins, Jeffrey K. Taubenberger, Anthony S. Fauci. This was done in 2013. You do a little digging, there's a lot of information that you can find. We're not going to go through all of it. But I just want to point this out. Jeffrey Taubenberger, chief of the viral pathogenesis and evolution section at NIAID and a pioneer in the controversial reconstruction of the 1918 pandemic influenza virus, was carbon copied on a May 2020 email strategizing about how to recruit leadership at the prestigious American Society of Tropical Medicine and Hygiene to protect eco-health. Jeffrey Taubenberger was working with David Morins and Fauci and was helping publicity and funding for the COOF stuff, the actual virus itself. To that end, Morins and Taubenberger co-published a July 2020 op-ed in the Society Scientific Journal of the American Journal for Tropical Medicine and Hygiene. Taubenberger lent his credibility to the argument that the theories about a hypothetical man-made origins of the COOF have been thoroughly discredited by multiple virus experts. The virus that caused the COOF is thus a virus that emerged naturally. The article that Taubenberger wrote with Morins and Fauci. Morins described the article in an email to a science reporter, CCing his co-author Taubenberger as a publication that defends Peter and his Chinese colleagues. Why? Because they were helping Fauci fund it. The reporter thanked Morins and offered to link it to the recently published article, an interview with Xi in which he refused the lab leak theory, demanded an apology from Trump, and deemed the suspension of the EcoHealth grant absolutely absurd. Taubenberger, to be put into that position, must be selected by RFK Jr. and Dr. J. Baki, whatever his face is. They're the ones that installed him. Knowing his background, who he's connected to, what he's done, and he's now the next Fauci. See, that was always my thing when it came to the whole politic Trump selection stuff and everything like that. Everybody was talking about everything else but his connection to 2020 and him being the father of the vax and all of the things that he, even to this day, still defends and supports and funds and his team funds. I mean, his chief of staff, Susie Wiles, is all connected into that stuff as well. And he keeps picking people that are still connected to the mRNA stuff. But yet we just, short-term memory, remember that was all that was talked about for 4 years while Biden was in office. 4 years. We were hearing about that. Mainstream media, prophecy people. Doesn't matter where you're coming from, left or right. 4 years we've been hearing about that stuff. And now that Trump comes in, self-proclaiming, words out of his own mouth, being promoting the thing. Short-term memory. We forgot. Doesn't matter anymore. Doesn't matter. It's all good. All good in the hood. It's because, again, this isn't a political thing. The reason why we do that is because we still cling to the earth. We still hold on to this earth. We're just grabbing a hold, not letting go, and that's that. We need to let go. If there's anything that you guys can hear tonight, this was a whole bunch of information, a lot of reading, a lot of little details. I know you gotta do it sometimes. You can't just do overviews of everything. Sometimes you gotta go a little bit deeper on this stuff. But if there's anything that you hear from me tonight, if you're still holding out hope that politicians, or businessmen is going to restore some type of restoration to the country, it's time to let go. Give Jesus your full focus. Let go of the earth and just fall into his hands, because none of it will matter anymore at that point. The weight will be gone. You will be able to see more clearly regarding the information that we have in front of us. And it's just a much more freeing place to be. It really is. I remember when I finally let go. This was years back. But I remember when I finally let go. Yeah, people. Some of you may not realize. I know there's a lot of people that have heard that before, but some may not realize. I was a big dude a big patriot. I used to be. My old high school email is still even freedom fighters. Like that's what it was, man. I was all wrapped up into being a patriot and loving the country and and all this type of stuff. And it was hard. But when the walls get knocked down and you finally let go and you realize all the people that you loved and all the political people that you worshipped and you didn't even realize that you worshipped, and they could do no wrong, and your twisted version of history and the short-term memory and the excuses and stuff, when you finally let go of all that stuff, you finally move on from all that, and you finally let go of the world and just get rid of it, you just realize the best place to be is in the hands of the Lord. Having full faith in him, not holding out hope for something that deep down inside ain't happening. It's all gone. The weight is gone. It's one of those things where I still see people in the church and Christians and stuff. I see it. Well, what are you? First thing that comes out of their mouth is their political association. See, me, I don't even have a political association anymore. When people ask what you are, I follow Jesus. That's it. I'm not tacking anything else onto that. Don't need to. I'm not a patriot. I'm not a constitutionalist. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm none of that stuff. What are you? I'm a Christian. And I don't even use that term anymore because that's been so perverted and convoluted now. I just say I follow Jesus. I follow the word of God. That's what I am, and I'm proud of it. Because I know everything else is sinking right now. It's falling apart. You can say that I've given up. You could say that I've got no hope. You can throw whatever you want at me, and I'm sitting there going, no, I haven't given up. I have all the hope out of the world because my hope and my trust and my faith is in Jesus Christ. And I know what his word tells me is going to happen, and I know what his word tells me promises for me. And I realize that my long-term life insurance platform is a lot more secure in his hands than it is in something in the world. If you don't have that, it's time to invest in that life insurance policy. And it's a simple gift that Jesus Christ extends. Jesus Christ alone extends to anybody willing to accept it. And that is the gospel of Jesus Christ, which is as simple as ABC. A, you admit that you're a sinner. The act of repentance or metanoia, the changing of mind, is not something that you have to do. It's not trying to get your life on track. It's not trying to stop sinning. It's not trying to do any of that stuff, which is never going to happen. It's turning from self to Christ. It's realizing that I can't save myself and I need Jesus to save me. Every religion in the world wants you to go self. But it's the relationship with Jesus Christ that wants you to go, come with me. Put your faith in me. It's the only one where he came to us as opposed to we go to them. So repentance, changing of mind, allows us access to truly understand why we need Jesus. Because how can we believe in Jesus Christ as our Savior if we don't know why we need Jesus Christ as our Savior? And it's through repentance that allows true belief in Jesus Christ. B, we believe that Jesus Christ is the one and only begotten Son of God. That he came down 100% man, 100% God, the God-man. There is no other. And he lived the perfect, sinless life. The only one to do so, which means he was the only one qualified to carry the sins of the world upon his shoulders, a weight that I don't believe that any of us can comprehend, and a pain that I think was more painful than the physical crucifixion itself. And he carried the sins of the world on his shoulders to the cross and was crucified. He did that for you. He did that for me. And he died upon that cross. But just as he promised he would, and because there's power in the blood of Jesus Christ, he defeated death and rose again on the third day. For all who believe in him shall not perish, but live forever in his presence and in his glory, living life forever under his rule and his reign and his domain. Living in perfection, living in his glory. Something that we just, again, cannot comprehend. And while I don't understand exactly what that means, I know that that's where I want to be. And it's only through Jesus Christ, the spotless Lamb, who bled for us, that we can get that. And he gives it to you for free, as long as you put your faith and your belief in him. And see as you call upon the Lord, Lord Jesus, I am a sinner, and I have sinned, and I need you alone to save me. Lord Jesus, I believe that you are the one and only begotten Son of God, that you came down and lived the perfect sinless life, that you died upon the cross, and that you rose again on the third day. Lord Jesus, I need you to save me. Forgive me of my sins, come into my life. Amen. For all who believe, for all who believe in Jesus Christ shall be saved. He doesn't want anybody to perish. Let go of the world. Let go of the politics. let go of the material stuff. Put your life and your soul in the hands of Jesus. Amen. Amen. All right. We got a ridiculous amount of questions. Let's see how many of these things we can knock out, shall we? All right. Let's see here. Crafty Mary verified question. What do you know about the Noahide laws and Project 2025? Crafty Mary, if you are still here, I have a video on my channel about the Noahide laws. So if you go to my channel and you search for the Noahide laws, you will find a video titled Noahide laws. So you can find the answer about the Noahide laws there. Project 2025. Also, if you go to my channel, I did a 2-hour video and interview with Toby Stevens. And we go over 1930s Germany, Curtis Yarvin, and Project 2025 in that interview. So if you want to know about that stuff, you can find that there. So you'll find a video of the Noahide laws on my channel, and you'll find an interview with Toby Stevens about Project 2025 and all of that stuff. So you can go ahead and check those out, and that should answer your questions. Let's see here. Jules0731. Hi, Zach. Hi, Jules. How we doing? And everybody. Jules says hello, everybody. So everybody say hi to Jules. Is it true that all the cargo shipping boxes are empty and there are none in the ports? Yes and no. There's a lot of extreme reporting going on about that. I've been following this stuff from some very reliable sources. These guys nailed it in 2020. And I've been watching them again because of what's going on with this. And they're showing pictures, live pictures of what's going on regarding ports, transportation, and trucking. The cargo ships are still moving. There's still cargo ships going back and forth. They're about half empty of the containers. The last time that this happened was 2020. So the containers are about half empty. The ports are not empty like a lot of people are saying they are. But again, there doesn't seem to be as much movement. The movement is slowing, which again, when ships are half full and the movement slows down, that means goods are not being transported. I'm seeing a lot of imagery of tariff costs where, what was the latest one? Let me see if I have that saved. Let me check this real quick. I hope I saved it. I did not save it because I am a buffoon. Darn. Okay. There's a bunch of reports coming out from shipping people. They're the logistics people, saying that they have a shipment that cost them $2,100 and they're getting charged an extra $2,900 in tariff fees on top of it because of what's going on, which has significantly reduced the stuff coming in. I'm also seeing that there are trucking companies. One, I can't remember the exact name, but they have not laid anybody off in over 10 years, and they have begun to do layoffs, and this is trucking companies. So there's still stuff moving. There's still people paying the tariffs. So it's not completely dead, but it's not alive either, and it seems to continue to be slowing down. So things are definitely making waves on that end of things. So don't go with one side or the other. There's a lot of people reporting everything is going just as normal, and there's a lot of people reporting it's absolutely stopped. None of that's true. It's always in the middle. Usually that's the case with everything. It's always in the middle. Let's see here. Ms. Mustard. Hey, Mustard. How you doing? Let's see. Did you see that our Pennsylvanian Jewish governor had a fire at the governor mansion the other weekend? Can't find pictures of the actual fires being fought, just the damage. Weird. I don't know anything about that, Ms. Mustard. Yeah, I don't know anything about that. That's weird. Do you have any insight on possibly what could be going on with that? Let me know if you do. Yeah, because I don't know anything about that. Interesting. Let's see here. Patrick Starr, question, did you hear about the massive Spain-Portugal power outage? Interesting that they immediately ruled out a cyber attack. Perhaps it was a trial run. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. It's interesting because the areas that you're talking about, Spain, Portugal, and there's another spot that got hit by that. They're the ones that actually advertise, even to this day, the Agenda 2030 stuff all over their trains and stuff like that, and it all shut down. And then you'll notice the other half is still online because they have their own separate power grid that's actually disconnected from that one, and they're still on. So if you ever look at the top-down view of like the lights and stuff, you see it's lit up on top, completely black in the middle, and then lit up on the bottom, which is fascinating to look. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff. They say, oh, too many people running air conditioners, which I don't buy that at all. Yeah, a lot of people are saying that it might be a part of this cyber polygon stuff, which that hasn't happened in a couple of years, but that doesn't mean that the agenda is gone. They could be doing stuff with that. A question that I heard is what's gonna happen to the financial system when it turns back on, when all the lights get turned back on. That's kind of interesting. So I'm curious to see what happens after that event. Patrick, I am curious to see. Let's see here. Doc, question, have you heard any theory about time going faster? Time is just flying by. I think a lot of it is mental. I know that there's been a lot of shifts, like with the polar stuff. And I saw a report, this was a couple years ago, that said the days are actually scientifically getting a bit shorter by several minutes, which is interesting. So, yeah, I think it's both a physical change and a mental situation, making time seem like it's going by faster in regards to that. So, very fascinating. We do know that the Lord can change things around as he sees fit. He already did so in the past. We read about, I can't remember the exact book, but in Scripture, we know that the Lord changed the entire axis of the earth, which all scientists would say that would kill us. But of course, God's in control of all that and everything's good. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the physical structure of time and the world and everything as we continue to get closer to the rapture and Day of the Lord and everything. Let's see here. Patrick Starr. Excuse me. Patrick Starr, we have 0 tolerable churches in our area, and it's rare to find like-minded Christians nearby. Have any advice on how to cope with loneliness that comes from this kind of isolation? Patrick, I really don't, my man. It's just like where I'm at. It's pretty much just me and my dad. That's about it, honestly. I really don't. Unless you can just try and find some Christian groups in your area on like social media that you can like just kind of get in and just feel people out and see if you can find a friend or two that are in the same boat as you on that. That might be your best bet in regards to that. But yeah, no, we're entering a time now where Christians are getting cut off. Churches are following left and right, not finding that stuff. True Christians are being revealed to be possibly not so true after all. The veil is getting lifted on things, and I think we're getting back to the time of the church began in the home, and it's ending in the home again. It's just trying to find people in our areas for the physical fellowship is difficult. So you might just try and see if you can find some Christian social media groups in your area and see if you can find 1 or 2 that you can maybe live close by. But after that, I really don't have any suggestions, man. I'm sorry. Let's see here. Terry Kissamore question. What do you think about the Muslim Islam strongholds forming in Texas, like Sugar Land and other cities right now? I know that's been the talk of the town a lot when it comes to prophecy people and whatnot. And I know there's a lot of speculation that Islam is going to kind of take over as we get into like the Day of the Lord and stuff like that. I hold a different view. I actually hold one that most disagree with. I believe Islam is going to be almost entirely wiped out. It's going to be so insignificant going into the day of the Lord and everything. I think most of the Islamic people are going to get wiped out all over the earth. I think the immigration and invasion happening in Europe and here in the Western world of the Islamic groups is going to play some effect on the loss of life. And I think they're all going to get wiped out in the process of it. So I think it's in preparation for that. I don't think there's going to be an Islamic takeover. I don't think Islam is going to play any part whatsoever in the one world religion. We do know that Islam is a part of the mystery religion, but I believe it's going to get wiped out when we get to the one world religion stuff, and so on and so forth. So I think it's preparation for catastrophic events post-rapture into the day of the Lord on that. That's what I think in regards to that. Let's see here. Proton Girl, is that you on the Sunday Funny? And if so, did you sell the Cutlass by 345? No, that wasn't me. That wasn't me. I wasn't blessed to have hair like that. I'll tell you what, that dude's got a mean haircut, and he grew up to sell many Cutlasses. I'm glad you like that. If for those who aren't on my Telegram, they have no idea what's being talked about. But yeah, the latest Sunday Funny, I love that. I've shared it with all my friends and everything. It's great. It makes me laugh every time. Let's see here. Shay, question here in Canada. They have Sharia law. I think you mean Sharia law. I'm probably spelling it wrong, but I know that they will use that through Canada. Will they do it there? I think the shift is going to be more for the Noahide laws and that stuff. I don't think it's going to be Islam. So I kind of addressed a little bit of that as well. It may play a part in the short term now, but again, I think long term it's not going to play a part. Let's see here. Leslie, question. What do you know about New Mexico governor signing executive order for the National Guard, helping the Albuquerque police handle the drug and lawlessness? I don't know anything about that, Leslie. I mean, maybe some of the stuff that we just went over in this podcast will play a part into that. Maybe not. I'm not going to sit here and say yes or no either way, because we really don't. But as far as that specific situation, I don't know much about it, Leslie. I'm sorry. I can't give you anything on that one. Leslie, question. Have you heard about the basic income of $750 per month for a year to low income people? That doesn't sound right. I haven't heard that, and that doesn't sound right at all. I don't think that won't fly. Nobody can survive on that. UBI is going to restrict people, but they're still going to be able to survive. Nobody can survive on that, so I don't think that's right. But no, I haven't heard that. Let's see. Neardo Andrew, question. Doesn't federal immunity toss all of our rights out the window? Cops can kick in your door and now blow you away because you're suspicious? Yes. In a very blunt nutshell, yes. Federal immunity grants anybody who has it the ability to go in, do what they're going to do based on suspicion. They can make up a probable cause, even if there isn't one there, and say, I believe that this was going to happen. Again, we've already seen some verbiage and language in there that gives them the ability to do so with predictability, predictive crime, and basically go, okay, well, that's what you thought was going on. It falls in line with our interpretation of the law. You're free and clear. You're good to go. So yes, that's what that is. And we've already seen ICE doing stuff like kicking in doors to churches to haul off immigrants. That's illegal as illegal comes. It doesn't matter if that church is got a murderer sitting in the pews. They can't come and kick in the doors of a church unless you're a 501c thing, which again, that's an entirely different conversation. But if you're not a part of that, then that's illegal as all get out. But yeah, that's basically what's going to happen on that. Let's see here. Patrick Starr question. So due to the executive order, in a few months, we will have a full-blown police state. Depending on when they choose to start enforcing it and using it, they have the ability to do so now. Those two executive orders that we went over and the DOD directive grants them the ability to do that, because that means Trump has the ability to interpret the law how he sees fit. The other executive order grants the ability to act upon the interpretation of that law and go around and persecute anybody who opposes it. And then the DOD directive basically allows all law enforcement the ability to use lethal force against U.S. citizens. So if they so choose to use it whenever they feel like rolling it out, it's in place and ready to go. Victoria. Hey, Victoria. I still got fits back there. I love that thing. Do you think Trump will ever declare martial law for a full takeover? I think that would need to be a specifically timed event, because right now Trump still has the majority, even though a lot of people are jumping ship. There's still the majority that is going along with what he's doing. If he declares martial law, there's a chance that he'll lose a lot of the support of those people. So I think it's going to be, there are certain things that he has to get done first before he does that, if they so choose to do it. So I think that would have to be a specifically timed event for that. Let's see. Leah, just got a couple more here. Leah, okay, there it is. I lost your question for a second. Leah, with the selection in Canada yesterday and the approval by Trump of the outcome, yeah, he's always got to say something, right? The approval of the election yesterday. Could the process of putting together the 10 kings be beginning to happen? I don't think the 10 kings or kingdoms or whatever, these are kings that don't exist yet. So we do know that there's a lovely theater game between Carnage Carney over there and Trump. So I'm still waiting to see how the unfolding of acquiring Canada is going to happen. That's what I'm waiting to see. Now, 10 regions, that has to do with acquiring Canada and so on and so forth. So we'll see about that. But as far as the kings, you said 10 kingdoms, so I'm kind of addressing both. I think the kings are actually going to be industry guys. I don't think they're actually going to be political people. So we'll see. I'm just trying to wait to see how it plays out in regards to Canada, United States, and the acquiring of such. It's going to be pretty interesting to see what happens there, if we see it. I pray that we don't. I pray that we're gone. Get us out of here. Fast track us. Machine Gun Kelly question: should President Trump give asylum to Brits leaving because of Muslim takeover? No. I know there's going to be some people that think I'm heartless for that, but no. You're British. We're American. If you want to come over here, then go through due process. I don't care if you're Asian or Muslim or British or anything. If you want to come over here, you got to do it the right way. So, I mean, we've got our own invasion happening here. So why would they move from one Muslim problem to the next Muslim problem? I mean, it's all problems. Let's see. Lori S., what is going to happen to all the people who have autism? I don't know. Because the NIA said that they denied that they were making an autism registry, even though they announced it and then immediately said, no, that was wrong. So it seems like that autism registry is going to be somehow built into that data tracker, medical data tracker thing that they're doing. I don't know, man. It's when you start seeing medical data stuff like that come in, of all medical records, registries being built, and live tracking. That is stuff that, again, that's eugenics stuff. That's keeping track of certain genealogy lines and ancestry stuff, and you start keeping track, and you just never know what happens when they do that, especially when past history tells us usually it's nothing good. So I'm curious to see what happens, but I'm not sure what's going to happen to people with autism. I don't know. Doc, question. Do you think that they can connect and normalize all systems and databases? It's a huge problem. Oh yeah. That's what they're doing right now. And they're getting connected. They had the stuff. Peter Thiel and Palantir and Alex Karp are coming in and grabbing the cables and plugging it in. That's what they're doing right now. That's what we've been talking about for the past couple months when I talk about the Palantir stuff and the Google stuff and the AI stuff and the databases and stuff, the cloud services that they're doing, the new internet that's being rewritten for AI to communicate with each other from other platforms and stuff. That is the normalization and the connection of all the databases and all the information together. They're doing it right now, and we've been watching it happen. So yes, it's absolutely happening right in front of our eyes this very moment. This very moment. All right. Last question, of course. The peanut gallery. Tisk, tisk, tisk. Stephanie, question. What happens if you get scared half to death twice? Well, I mean, it depends on who you're asking. If it's a cat, then you still got 8 lives left, right? If you get scared half to death twice, how does that work for a midget? Since it's only about half of a human size, does that mean he fully dies on the first go around? Or did he die twice? Or again, you gotta clarify here. Who are we talking about? You can't just go general statement on that one. Looks like you got a few questions to clarify before I can answer that one, Stephanie. I win this duel. All right, guys. Oh, you can't say, get out of here. We're the Misfits. We don't play by the DEI, the whatchamacallit, the political correctness and stuff like that. Whatever. Anyways, all right, guys, thank you for joining me. That's all we got, guys. I appreciate that. You get a math question sent. Well, that's just mean. I'm going to go cry now. But thank you guys for joining me today, and that's all we got. So usual spiel, if you guys can, like, share, subscribe, get this out to as many people as you can. It's not about views, not about butts and seats, but it is about getting the... I just saw your comment, man. Come on, man. Hoya. Ha. And so yeah, if you guys put that out there. Fitz, hit the thumbs up, share it out, subscribe if you haven't. It'll make Fitz happy. You want to make him happy, right? Yeah, do me a solid, like, share, subscribe. It helps reach people who have questions and need the gospel of Jesus Christ. So that'd be great if you guys can do that. And all that jazz. Also, if you guys can, make sure you guys follow me on Rumble and Telegram. Those are my backup channels. If I get booted off YouTube, we'll be back up live streaming over on Rumble. And Telegram, I post updates, announcements, and little things that I can't put in video form and all that type of stuff. So make sure you guys go ahead and follow me on Telegram if you have that going on. Best place to stay up to date, of course, is the WretchedWatchmen.com website. And that's the best place, one-stop shop for all things, latest podcasts and announcements and video series and anything that you want to find out. That's the best place to go. So make sure you guys bookmark the website to always stay up to date. And last but not least, if you guys would like to support this channel, I got donation links down below, CashApp, Venmo, and GiveSendGo. This channel is not monetized. I don't make anything from ads, views, anything like that. It runs solely off of your guys' generous donations. Again, I don't do paywalls. I don't hide things. I don't sell things. I don't do any of that type of stuff. And the reason why I'm able to do that is because the Lord has blessed me through you guys. And I'm so grateful for all of you and your support and your prayers and everything like that. So thank you guys. And I appreciate that. Just my applause to you guys. Thank you. And it's awesome. So, all right, that's all I got. Thank you guys for joining me today. And if the Lord does not come back by Saturday, same time, same place, I'll meet you guys right back here. Be bold for the Lord, let go of the earth, and make sure we stay focused on what we need to do. I'll catch you guys then. Peace out. Maranatha.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.